Dan, I
Ready to
think we're
go?
all set.
All right.
So, all right, so it sounds like we are ready. I would like to introduce to you the founder of Traverse City Film Festival, Mr. Michael Moore.
Hey, everybody, welcome. Welcome here. Thank you so much. We're really honored tonight to have the co-directors of this film, Lynden, with us live from Seattle. And also, if she doesn't mind me saying, the star of the film, Amsa Burke, is joining us from Howard University in Washington, D.C. Welcome, all of you, and thank you for coming to be part of this tonight in Traverse City, Michigan.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you. Hi.
Thank you.
As you can see, yes, the audience. We love this film. And I think if I can speak on behalf of the people there who are from Northern Michigan in a town that, is it okay to say to them, not too dissimilar from Lynden, Washington? Is that audience, is that correct? Okay, we'll hear from them in a few minutes. But it's like I forgot what the percentage was in the film of percentage of Lynden that's white. But in Traverse City, it's I'm easily close to 95% probably. And and so when you live in an area like this, and for the 5% who are not white or 8% that are not white, it's a lot of what I think we saw AMSA struggling with and going through is we've seen that happen in our town. And it's when I first moved up there from Flint, it I was surprised that, for instance, they didn't honor Martin Luther King Day. It was like I was so used to that I lived in Washington, D.C. for a while. I lived in San Francisco. I lived in Flint. And so it was odd. And but a number of us got together with the superintendent at the time and said, we should start recognizing this day. And then they did the right thing and started recognizing Martin Luther King Day. And we offered to raise money to restore their theater and auditorium in the main central elementary school. And then last week, they've been under so much pressure from all the MAGA people in the area to get rid of diversity and inclusion and everything, and stop teaching our white kids to feel guilty about being white and about the history of how we've treated African Americans. And so they got rid of their, Martin Luther King Day thing last week, and did a sort of a token little thing. But the idea of shutting down for the day like everybody else does, and then what we would do, we had the theater open all during the day and night at Martin Luther King Day for all kinds of kids, parents, people to come and really acknowledge this wonderful day in America. So we'll go back at the school board next year and try to get them to realize they don't need to be afraid, even though these are somewhat scary times. Chris and Bryan, tell us a little bit about yourselves. How did you get together? How did you end up being the co-directors of this film? What drew you to Lynden, Washington? Which is, I've never been to Lynden up there, but I've been up. That's a beautiful, beautiful area of the country. And I did a book signing once at a bookstore in Bellingham up there near the Canadian border. So I know the area a little bit, but just tell the audience and myself how this came to be.
You want me to start, Bryan? Okay. Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks everyone for coming and watching the film. It means so much to us, and we're just really grateful to have this opportunity to, just sit here with you, Michael. Like, what a gift. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I actually grew up in Bellingham. I'm sure I've been to that bookstore many times, probably Village Books.
Yes, that's
And
right.
then I ended up, I went to school in Lynden at Lynden Christian though, and all my family's sort of Dutch Christian Reform heritage. So that was sort of where I needed to go to school. Um, once high school was gone, I left immediately and did a lot of travel and then sort of had my worldview expanded quite a bit and then got into film. And I met Bryan along the way, and we had worked together quite a bit on a few short documentaries and projects for nonprofits and things like that. Um, so, yeah, 2016 rolled around, and I was just a very confusing time because I had all these lovely family members that are, strong Christians and have these I would just look up to, and I was so confused about the disconnect what I saw in Trump and their support for this man that couldn't I couldn't see how those two things kind of fit together. And then we heard about this March for Black Lives that was being put on in 2020, and I just had a kind of a lens to Lyndon, like, oh, it's something I just don't understand. Like, so I was like, when I don't understand, like curiosity tends to kick in, and I just kind of try to, I don't know, just wanted to understand, and I didn't. But this March happened, and I knew just from hearing from relatives and people in town that it was going to be a flashpoint of what was happening all over the country, like this division that we were seeing, and thought it might be an interesting lens to look at the small town. But then, like you said, Lyndon, I don't think is unique. Like this division and everything, these towns exist all over the country. So I reached out to Bryan, and we agreed to kind of start start with this march, and we met Amsa that day, and like the next day
Right.
we were in her home interviewing her.
Wow. So, so this is where you first met these two, and you've obviously seen the film. You've lived it while they were filming it and all that. But I'm curious the impact that this has had on you personally, and your response to it, and especially now that you no longer live there, you're going to college in Washington, D.C. So just bring us up to date and tell us a little bit about your participation in this and how it has affected you.
Yeah, so it's been like 4 years and definitely older now, but yeah, this film has you know, having it come back at this time is like very fortuitous. Like now, like these conversations are still, always they're present and relevant, and bringing it back has brought not only conversations on race and politics in America, but also adoption as well. It's brought a lot of people connected with like international adoption and to be able to speak about that and the pernicious effects of it is is great. Like I'm glad that my story can reach out to different, you know, different types of stories and just inspire conversations and for people to, look inward and also just, see a different side of a story within communities that, are presented as like super safe and super wholesome and, everything
What's
like that.
what's it been like to go from a virtually all white town to living in one of our great majority black cities in the country? It's got to been a bit of a bit of a change, obviously. But um, how's it going there?
It's pretty great, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I love going to HBCU, Historically Black College or University is it was just like another culture shock. Like I guess I've never it's just different like just being a student, like not being like the black student. But I just get to be a student and I've never had like teachers that were black or professors that were black. So it's just different. And it's so nice to see how, you know, the like um the stereotypes and the categories of like what being Black is, expands so much when you're just surrounded by people. You don't have to be this, what the stereotypical or like, the movie, whatever, Black
Sure.
that I was getting pushed to be when I was in Lynden. So it's just so nice. But yeah, I've really loved it, and it's allowed me to explore a lot of parts of myself, um, instead of kind of being in a fight or flight mode.
Hmm. And this, you're also, in addition to being Black, you're an immigrant. And so, adopted, you were in Ethiopia, I believe, if I remember this correctly. What's the last week or two been like in terms of just seeing what's going on every day now in this country? Um, and you mentioned that you've been active in the adoption movement and things like that. So I'm just curious how this all, this moment in history is hitting you.
Um, it's definitely difficult to see, and it's really confusing, considering that, everyone, like, I mean, that is America. We all like, there's immigration that happens, like that's how America started, the colonials and everything. So it is confusing to think that now we're pushing people out when, that is the genesis of how all American history books start, the pilgrims were fleeing. So yeah, it just feels like uh kind of ironic or hypocritical. But I'm a US citizen now. But I do, I have friends and people around me that are immigrants as well. And I do, they are fearful and worried. And yeah, it's a really scary time. And I think it's just a time to make sure you check up on those maybe and make sure, you know, it, you know, they know that you're there to support them. So
Sure,
yeah.
sure. Brian, what's your excuse?
My excuse for working on the film.
Yeah, yes, and how you came to this, and what the film did to you, for you, as a person like myself and Chris and others, that we get certain advantages that come our way because just of, I guess, the pigmentation of our skin and the history of this country, and so you and Chris, uh, you know, it's on some level, it's really impressive that you gave years of your life to making this, telling this story, telling Amsa's story, and the other story of the other young people there in Lynden.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have the personal tie to Lyndon that Chris did, but I come from a Christian background. And so as the story was unfolding, kind of after we filmed the march and seeing just the fallout and the relationships that were fractured within the town, we just felt like as we were watching what was going on nationally, we were seeing this like hyper local story, people being affected by this march that happened weeks ago, months ago. Like it was the whole year. And so we really felt like kind of exploring the evangelical aspects of this story and what it did to relationships and people who shared, the same church or the same business together. Really grappling with like what was this town that they really loved and felt like a utopia to them. They saw it differently, and so, and Amsa, when I showed up to the march, that was the first time I'd ever been to Lyndon. We didn't know anything about who was organizing the march, but I saw Amsa go up and, share what you saw in the film. And I just thought she's incredibly brave, especially when she said how old she was. I was like, this can't be right, and I'm looking around me and there's people posted with guns. There's people shouting, trying to drown out her voice. I was scared. I'm like a grown adult and I was worried her afterwards. She was just fearless. And then when she had said in front of the crowd that she was adopted, I immediately, my ears perked up because my wife is a transracial adoptee. And sure enough, when I went to AMSA afterwards, she had recognized my name because my first film 10 years ago was about my wife finding her birth family in Chattanooga. And it circulated quite a bit in the adoption community. And sure enough, Amsa told me that she watched that film.
Mm.
So I think that kind of gave us a little bit of an in. You know, they trusted us early on to come in and interview and start to explore the possibility of sharing her story.
That word trust, Amsa. I mean, these are strangers, these are white
Mm.
boys. Um, and some like this, I've heard the word Christian at least 3 times already in this interview. So that can be a good thing, and that can be a really bad thing. Um, in terms of what kind of Christian are they? Are they the kind that actually follow the teachings of a person named Jesus? Or have they been using and hiding behind that religion to enact their white privilege, racism, etc.? So um, and I'm just curious, Amsa, that how did that trust build? And because that he's right, that first scene, that when you went up there the first time to speak was like, I think anybody who's like us who are from like the area that we're from in northern Michigan are like, holy whoa. And and just feeling on edge for you. And like you said, it's now 4 years ago, but what I'm just curious, all that wave of emotions and then here these two strangers, um, both having gone to Christian schools.
Yeah, I think the march was um it's kind of just a moment of urgency. It's a tipping point for me. Uh, that speech was easy to write. It had come from like years of suppression and it was finally like just hitting
Mm.
the boiling point. But I just felt so lonely in Lynden for so long, and not because of a lack of community. I mean, I had everything that, visibly everybody be like, oh, she's thriving here, she has friends, she's a part of clubs, whatever. But it's not, loneliness doesn't come out of, a lack of community, but like a lack of being seen and acknowledged and supported for your authentic self. And I was
Mm.
definitely putting on a facade because I was acting in the way that I knew that I'd be accepted as, only Black person in my grade. So I was just like, okay, I need to act this way. And they were giving me really two options, be the stereotype we want you to be of like a Black person that we see on TV, or like just fully like become like white and you can't change your skin color, basically, to just like transform yourself. And that's what I was trying to do, really. And I just kind of was like sick of it, and I was sick of just not being heard or just seen. So it just felt like, I mean, I was willing to take those risks because I was really concerned, and I just felt this like, you know, desire to be seen, but not only to make myself seen, but also to, I was thinking about the other, you know, the small amount of Black people in the town itself. And I just like, we're here. Like, do you not see us? Like, we are here. So I just I thought that finally needed to be said and needed to be pushed a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, I was I was just kind of bored of I was frustrated with the stagnancy of it all. Um, but with trust, I'd say that, in Lynden, you kind of just learn that, I mean, I learned that just like, white equals safe. So it just felt like, you know, Bryan and Chris coming up to me, I wasn't scared of them. I think I would have been, because they fit that depiction of like, oh, what you would find in Lynden. And just like, you're not, it's just like, you're just supposed to be nice to everybody in Lynden. You're not really supposed to show that. I don't know. I just don't really feel like I didn't even give it a second thought. I was like, okay, yeah, let's go. Like, let's do it. And I never really thought about it, but it's just that form of like, okay, well, you look like you're one of the people that are here. So I'm just like, I've learned that, this is what equals safe to. you know, in Lynden. And I think that's maybe why I trusted them easier. But yeah, but then they're also just very genuine people and nice people. We just got to know each other really well. And but that initial point, I was just like, yeah, I mean, whatever. But yeah,
Right, right.
I am so thankful to know them now.
And like you said, now living in Washington, D.C. and going to Howard, all that pressure and the stress and the tension of having to be the one black student in the class or the all of that now in these last couple of years and being in college there in this majority black city, it's got to make your like your shoulders just relax or just the general uh that thing that you had to carry every day in Lyndon, and it's and the thing but what really I was surprised, I have to say, that the ministers and some of the Christian leaders in the town were actually good people and trying their best to do the right thing in ways that I didn't really expect to see in this film. I thought it would be a pretty cut and dry, situation, and it wasn't. And then I tried to convince myself, well, the closer that you live to Canada, the nicer you are. It just there's something that wears off from the Canadians. Maybe that was it. But it was really you guys. I mean, you're the people that you found to be in this. And yes, we got all the typical, white people that we're used to. But we also in this film saw um, ministers who were raising their children and did not want to live in the same Lyndon the way it had been, and the one that Chris, that you grew up in. Anyone can take that.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
know
think
you're
we
still thinking
yeah.
you're still grappling with why did he say the Canadians were nice?
No, the Canadians are nice. We like the Canadians. Yeah. Um, yeah, Brian and I definitely wanted like early on, and we have to shout out to our amazing producer who's behind the scenes here, Brian Lee, as well. Was like it was the three of us, and we really wanted early on to create a film that kind of showed both sides. It wasn't just this isn't like an issue. We wanted to be able to have like the Wylands of the film be able to sit down and watch it as well and hopefully get something from it and not just preach to the choir. Um,
I think some of them will get something. I hope they do. I mean, it's
yeah,
you
the
know, and
interesting thing. Oh yeah, go ahead. But
no, no, I was just saying people like Amsa are so with their hand outstretched to the people there and just asking to be listened to. Um, I would think, I would hope, and you can all three fill us in on Lyndon today. Um, uh, what is the situation? What is the situation racially? What is the situation? Um, have people shown up to the school board meeting to get rid of Martin Luther King Day? I mean, or has it gotten better? I'd love to hear. And if it has, what have you done what lessons can we learn in Northern Michigan?
oh, I'm so.
Anybody?
What do you think?
I think I mean they're still struggling with a lot of like, book bans, banning books about, with but by Black authors and things of and teaching about,
Yeah,
critical theory or just talking about race in general. And yeah, going back to Lyndon this past summer, it was strange to see a sort of surprise and shock at the film, even though, it's a documentary. This is all real footage that was taken and happened, and they all seem like, well, what is this, Lyndon? What's going on? Like, no, this didn't happen here. Lyndon's super nice. Lyndon's this, and it's just like, well, clearly there's something that happened. Do you not remember? And it just seemed like it just seems like the pattern that you see in history where, there's a movement, there's all this excitement and, promise of some progressive, you know, things that are going to happen afterwards. And then it gets quiet and there's no more, the climax is gone, and it's just the dust settles, and suddenly everybody's just slipping back into what was comfortable before, because now it's not like the talk of the town. And so that's what it seemed to me. I felt like everybody forgot. And when I came back, you know, even like my own family was like, well, was it really that bad? Like, was it? And I was just like, you
Mm,
know,
mm.
yeah, it
Is it,
was.
has the
It
film,
was.
so the film has been shown in Lynden.
Yes. Yeah, we showed it this summer, as
How'd that
in
go?
August. It went well. People showed up. That was great. And I think I'm just glad the conversation happened. Like, even people just listening to things that I have to say, or listening to me having a conversation with Wyland, just shows that, like, there can, like, this is not like, choose a side. This is we can all learn from each other. So I
Right.
was, that's as much as I can hope for. I don't know what they'll do once they walk out of that door, but I'm just glad that they showed up. That says something.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to turn it over to the audience here and take a few questions. And so if everybody's ready or can raise their hand, we have microphones around the theater there that they'll bring to you. And Chris and Bryan, your reaction to the screening in Lynden?
Go ahead, Bryan.
Yeah, it was a lot of people showed up to screenings. There was a high demand, and nobody really wanted to host a screening because there's no theater in Lynden. So we hosted a lot of screenings in Bellingham, which is about 30 minutes away. But
Mm,
the two screenings we had in Lynden were very tense. There was a lot of people coming up to us who were just mad. They felt like we had made a film to intentionally make their town look bad.
mm,
And my reaction is similar to yours, Michael, where I watch the film, I kind of see some of the Christians represented in the story. And I'm like, I feel like they're doing good. Like they're trying to make their town better. But I think certain people watch the film and they only saw it as, especially once they found out a couple filmmakers from Seattle and, assuming that we're liberal and progressive, and they're just like, oh, they're just trying to make us look bad. So we had just a lot of those kind of conversations with people trying to like de-escalate and talk
yeah,
down off of a ledge and just, I'm grateful they showed up though. Like Amsa said, I'm just grateful a
sure.
lot of people showed up to watch it. And I think a lot of people continued talking about the film for weeks after they saw it. And that's kind of what we heard.
Yeah, my first film was set in the city where I was born and raised in and around, and Flint, Michigan, and there was a lot of upset people. I know this, I know this feeling. When I say people, that's a euphemism for white people. The black community in Flint was, I think, mostly grateful that somebody told our story, but yeah, no, the people that lived in the Grand Blancs and the in Davison, where I went to high school, and others were, wow, it was intense. And so I know this feeling, especially so, but Chris, you don't live there anymore, right?
No, I don't. I live in Seattle. Yeah.
And when you came back this summer, Amsa, I mean, you feel okay walking down the street? There must be loads of people wanting your autograph and stuff, right? Uh,
Not quite.
no.
I don't know. I guess I think I feel really exposed when I'm there now. Because I'm not silent anymore. So it just felt like, I crossed the line, and now I
Mm,
can't really come back in again, because I have this feeling when I walk into Lynden, like, oh, like all eyes are on me. Like, oh,
mm,
that's the girl who, put a like rip who put a ripple in the water. And like that's not really supposed to happen at Lynden. Like Lynden has, blackout curtains to everything that goes on in outskirts of it. Like it's always been that way. Everything's perfect. Keep your grass clean, say hi to your neighbors. There's nothing wrong here. And really, you are shielded from everything that goes on. Like you can't, you don't walk down the street and see like a homeless person. Like you don't really see that in Lynden. It's just like everyone knows each other so well. So it just felt uh yeah, going back, it was just a little bit, it felt awkward, and I felt very, just kind of all those old feelings of strangeness and just not feeling very safe. So
Mm.
I, would not really want to go back again, but
Well, you've had a lot
yeah.
of time to think about what you want to do when you get out of college by now, I guess. But what do you want to do? What do we have to look forward to with your life and the I would imagine the amount of good that you can do for this world. Not to put any pressure on you.
Um, well, I feel like it's always shifting and changing. I'm curious about so many things. I think I just love to learn, and that's what I hope to do. I hope to keep on learning and growing and using my voice to, lift up other people and talk about, I think I'm really passionate about talking about international adoption, especially from Ethiopia, and finding, the others that are around the US that have also had similar stories to mine. There are many. And yeah, just passionate about raising, just being authentic and uncompromisingly honest and just pushing myself to do that and learn as much as I can. So I think that's what you can expect.
Let's turn it over to the audience. Who's got the first question here for Amsa, Chris, or Bryan?
Hi, thank you for all four of you being here. And so, what are you studying? I was wondering. And have you been back to Ethiopia again? And I'd like to know about the 10-year-old. I think you made a huge impression on that person also. And thank you.
Thank you for your question. I'll start with Jacobus. So Jacobus, he actually lived right down the street from me in Lynden, and I was sad to have only met him that summer. But he is a brilliant, just genuine, selfless kid, and he's amazing. And he taught me so many things, and the way he would word things is just, yeah, brilliant is what I can describe him as. To my knowledge, I don't think he's in Lynden anymore, but he's yeah, he's doing well, and he I think he impacted a lot of people, and maybe he can't, under grasp all of that yet, but I think when he's older, you know, he's gonna just, I feel like when he watches this back when he's like, 20 or something, he's gonna be like, wow, I did that at 10. And I don't know, that's how I see him. I'm just like, he's just, I can't, I just am, I'm looking forward to see where he goes as well. Um, Here at Howard, I am a double major in African Studies and English. I love writing, and I don't know where I'm gonna go with that, but yeah, think learning more about my continent is always something I've always wanted to have in my life as well. So yeah, that's what I'm studying. And sorry, what was the third question? Do you have another question?
What you're hoping to do and if you are heading back to Ethiopia.
Right. I hope I can go back to Ethiopia soon. I don't know when. But yeah, I hope it can happen soon.
Who's next?
She took my question about young Jacob, so and I came up with another one in the meantime, and that's who did the town vote for this time around?
I I think it was like Donald Trump by a landslide.
I will say this about our area that the city, Traverse City, voted for Kamala Harris, and the county, which is very conservative and very Republican, 31,000 votes for Trump, 30,000 votes for Kamala Harris. It was quite close.
That was
rare.
impressive.
Yeah, very, yeah, things have started to change, I hope, I think, I don't know, but, yeah. But Lyndon, I'm sorry to hear that, but, I think the state of Washington, though, went for, unlike the state of Michigan, went for Harris, I think, yeah. Next question.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. I have two questions. The first one might be kind of smaller. I'm wondering how you got Wyland's footage, or how you convinced him to share that with you. And my second question is, I also felt quite a bit more energy during the pandemic and during the height of Black Lives Matter, I think, and a lot of my colleagues and friends, I think, feel kind of tired now, and I'm wondering what you do. I think anyone could answer this question, but maybe I'm interested in Amsa first. What you do to preserve your energy when you're feeling discouraged.
Amsa.
So you want to answer that second part?
Yeah, I can. That's a good question. I think what I've been doing lately is kind of diving into the past civil rights activists and just authors like James Baldwin, June Jordan, Alice Walker, and reading them and seeing that, they were talking about this similar things, and they were fighting so, passionately for us to be seen and us to be heard. And, June Jordan and James Baldwin died, and they didn't get to see, you know, their hopes, come true, or flourish or anything like that. So, but they kept on being, uncompromisingly honest, and being, and speaking through their writing, through oratory. And I think I can be just inspired by them when I'm feeling discouraged, that I'm like, they kept on going. And I think that I can do that too, because like, even, their words are still fighting, even though they're, even from the grave, their words are still, affecting people, and having meaning. So I do that along with rest. I think one of my close mentors, she taught me rest is resistance. So just making sure you take care of yourself, and, reach out to your friends, and really just have joyful moments, just like, sit in them and be present, and just be like, yeah, like I'm really just like uh, presently like very happy and very joyful, and just really like soaking in that, because I think those times are sometimes far and few between, and it can be tough, but just to really like cherish those moments, and sit in them.
Who's got the next question? What was
Hi,
that?
thank you so much for being with us this evening. And thank you for the comment that you just made, that sitting in your joy is really important for all of us right now. I do have a question, though, about when you showed it and you said people were upset that they looked bad. Kind of what was it they were referring to? Was it just that the town was divided, or was there a specific behavior? Were they embarrassed about things? And then last question, gentlemen, what is your next project?
Guys?
Chris, you should answer the previous person's question about
answer
the
why, how did you get the footage from
violence.
why did
Oh,
he give
yeah,
it,
the
and why did he
Wyland.
give it to you? But I can kind of, I've dealt with this enough, I can guess the answer.
Let's see if this rings true. So Wyland was someone that we kept running into on the outskirts. We would see him with a camera, and we're like, oh, we have to find out who this guy is. Lynden's a small town. I check a lot of boxes. Like, my family's from there. I was raised in the church there. I just started asking around, and it turns out he's a relative. And my aunt went to high school with him. So I was able to get in
Wow.
touch with them. And I just sat down in his house for hours, and we just talked and he was more than happy to talk to me. I checked enough of the boxes to make him feel safe.
Right.
And um, yeah,
And
this is why it was really
he was
helpful to
so
have
into
two.
doing what he was doing, and he
He was
looked like
so
he
into
knew, and he knew what he was doing, that he must
yeah,
be
he's
thrilled that this footage is in your film.
yeah, and honestly, his mission was, to him, what he was doing is like sharing the gospel. Like this was his mission. So anybody that he could sort of preach to and get out in front of, like that's great for him. Like that's what he wants. Um, and I think a lot of the trust is built like too because he's a fascinating guy. I respect him. I don't agree with him at all, but I I don't know. I enjoyed spending time with him. So yeah, he was happy to hand over the footage and sign it for us. So
And what are the two of you doing now? What's your next film?
I'm shooting on a PBS cooking show right now today, but and I'm just kind of starting to dig into some future projects. I resonate with the idea of like, what do you do when you're exhausted with this? I want to do more to help, but I'm struggling with this. Like, yeah, how do you find? I don't know. I wanted to ask you this, Michael, actually, like, how do you find this like strength to keep like feel like you're pushing against something that's pushing back against you and you're not making progress?
I watch a lot of Below Deck on Bravo. It's I think the way I rest, like Amsa said, I think that's very important. I think that you can't ever let this get a hold of you because it can do you in basically, and you sink into such a level of despair. Um, but the thing is, the good thing about living this long is that I've seen enough of these moments where this country has been in awful shape. I spent my senior year in high school trying to, with my friends, we would do various reconnaissance things of, because we were 60 miles from Canada, how we were not going to go kill Vietnamese. So we were going to find our way to escape to Canada and not go kill people. So we got through that, and all these other things, from Nixon to Reagan to everything. And I don't want to give false hope here though, because we're in a really different moment with a real we're in a real bad situation. I don't know what this, just look what happened today. School lunches, no money, cut off, at least for now. So a temporary pause in Medicaid, basic stuff, cruel behavior afoot. Having to have Caroline Kennedy tell us today that her cousin is a predator and she's been a witness to it. And please do not allow this to happen. Wow. I mean, and on and on and on. So I think I try to keep my sense of humor. I encourage everybody to do that. Uh, 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 be close to your family and friends. We will get through this. Uh, the 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 um, the bad guys usually lose. They don't lose right away. They eventually lose, as Obama said many times. The arc of history bends toward justice, and sooner or later, justice will prevail. And I'm a big believer in that. And I'm not just trying to convince myself because I'm in this despairing moment. So I think what you do, I think if, yes, work on a PBS cooking show. Great idea. Um, Come to Traverse City. It's a big foodie town. They'd love to see you bring your cameras into our wonderful restaurants. Yeah, do that stuff, but also think about what is it that you can do, you know? I mean, here on the screen, we have a woman who is a writer, and it's exciting to think about what may happen with that. We don't know. She doesn't know, um, but if we all contribute and we all do our part, things will get better. Um, I have a picture of one of my modern heroes. Her name is Daniela Frazier. She was a 17-year-old teenager in Minneapolis, standing on the curb while the police murdered George Floyd. And without blinking an eye, she just pulled out her iPhone, put the camera up right in his face as he was doing this. He could have pulled a gun out, shot her. And at 17, and when I saw your film, when I saw Amsa, I just thought, yes, of course, there's thousands of Danielas and Amsas in this country, and the young people will help us. We'll figure this out. We'll save us. Sorry to have to put that on them, but it's I've seen it enough. So that's my answer to that question. That don't give up, do not despair, don't sink. Keep doing your work. Think about the work you can do that can really help people. Um, come make a movie about Traverse City. I'll, I'll give you a lot of leads. Just don't tell them it was my idea. But I know the two of you will do good work, and I know Amsa has a future that we're all will be looking forward to. So that's the best answer I can give you right now during a moment of deep trials and tribulation. So, all right. Well, hey, Angie, I just got a note from Dan saying that you actually have one more question you'd like to ask, or you have somebody there.
Yeah, hi. Halfway through the movie, there was a scene where there was a dialogue between two pastors were leading sort of a dialogue outdoors. And I thought, well, this is a great part of the narrative arc of the film. I mean, we started out with marches and people having to be on the opposite sides of their streets and, holding signs and not really having a dialogue, just sort of preaching to their own side. And I wondered if that dialogue under the tent really led to anything further. And also, were those the two, I think I remember seeing that those were two pastors that then didn't want to talk to you on camera later. So I was wondering about both of those things.
Guys?
Bryan, I'm going to have you go for this one.
Yeah, we called that night reconciliation. That's, I think, how Amsa had first told me about it. And there were supposed to be like 12 pastors that were going to come. So they were the only two that showed up. So sad, but also shout out to them for showing up. And I was the only one filming that night. And I was just really excited to hear what they were saying publicly. And it felt like a moment. It felt like, oh, there are people here. I knew there were people in the audience of political beliefs. And the reason they organized that event was because so many people saw that Amsa was disrupted during her speech at the original march that they wanted to give her time to, give her speech kind of unencumbered. So yeah. And then we had a dialogue with those two pastors after the event, and they didn't want to speak further on camera. And so we respected that, and we told the three of us filmmakers toiled how to address that in the film, and we ended up putting the text on the screen. Apparently they didn't like that. They didn't like being in the film at all. And going back to a person's question a few questions ago about why did the town think they looked bad, and that was one of those sticking points where we had people coming to us at the meetings in Lynden on behalf of the pastors, like pleading to take them out of the film. And I said, I'm like, they have our contact, like they can reach out to us anytime and like we can dialogue about this. They were the ones who never really responded back to us last. So that was something I didn't understand. And my only guess is that they, maybe just don't want to have said what they said in front of that audience, even though they knew I was filming there that day. and they knew it was a public space. But yeah, and then a lot of other people, on the note of like, why did people think they looked bad? A lot of people would come up to me in Lynden after watching the film and just say, well, I wasn't one of those people who was marching. Like, I stayed home, or and my response was always kind of like, well, did you see anybody that you knew film? Like, have you had conversations with them after the march? But just nobody wanted to be accused, like, personally, of doing something bad, like shouting at a teenager while they were trying to give a speech. And so if they didn't do it personally, then they just, didn't want some accusation about their town being, racist or something. And that's not what we were doing in the film at all. We weren't giving this blanket, racist Lynden. We were just showing you what happened. So yeah, I think people are just really protective of the image of their town. And they didn't like anything that, remotely was maybe not positive that was shown in the film.
Yeah, it just, while I was watching, and I just, every time, especially some of the Christian, how is it that the majority of white women for 3 elections in a row have voted for Trump? What women, especially during a time when women's rights have been, just egregiously taken away. We see what's ahead of us. We know the work we have to do. You got 2 of the 12 ministers there in the tent. That's 2. It's 2 more than some towns would have had. So start there, brick by brick, and eventually the majority of people will do the right thing. Eventually, they will figure it out, and they need people like them, people in the white community, which is in places like Traverse City and Lynden, the vast majority of the people, to help bring people along. And so we just keep doing that work and keep believing that people will do the right thing eventually, which is the truth of history. Sometimes it just takes a while. Amsa, I'm so glad that you joined us here tonight. Hope we haven't kept you from your studies or anything, but it really, watching this meant a lot to all of us to hear your voice. You have been heard. I want Americans to see this film all over the country. So we're going to do what we can do to take this film and help the filmmakers have more Americans, and especially in more towns like Lynden and Traverse City, see this film and hear your voice and the voice of that incredible 10-year-old boy. So thank him next time you see him. And thank you for being part of this. Thank you to everybody who showed up today. We had a great screening this afternoon and again tonight. And we're honored that you all would join us. And let's none of us give up, okay?
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Bryan.
Thank you.
Traverse City.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. Yeah, the honor's ours.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely, guys. And I meant what I said. We're going to try to do to get more people to see this film. It's an incredible piece of work, and Amsa's voice is so powerful, and so I'm grateful for all of that. None of us can do this alone, and and I hope next time you're back in Lynden, Amsa, it'll be better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's see.
But you're in a great place. I think you know that. You're in DC, you're at Howard, all cool, very cool. And so let's make sure we all stay in touch. Okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate
you, Michael.
it.
All
This
right,
was
you
so
guys.
great.
All right. Hope to see you in person someday. Thank you.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.